All right, so we're talking about retaliation. And this is really important because people call me all the time in my practice as an employment discrimination lawyer and say, I think I was terminated because I reported discrimination. And I ask them a couple questions. Well, who did you report it to? When did you report it? How long had it been happening? And sometimes I have clients who say, well, I just kind of had the conversation with the coworker that the harassing or discriminatory behavior was going on, but I never actually formally reported it to a manager, human resources because I was scared. And then we may find out later in the case that the employer is trying to use defense against our wrongful termination claim that they had no idea that this employee or former employee was being harassed or discriminated against. You don't want that to be your story. If you are being discriminated against because of your race, age if you're over 40, gender, sexual orientation, national origin, color, disability, pregnancy, any of these protected classes, if you feel like things are happening to you at work because of your membership in one of those, what we call protected classes, make sure you report it to a manager or to a human resource representative or to the owner of the company, depending on what size the company is. But you want to make sure you report it to management or corporate level. Why? Several different reasons. Welcome to Leeds Law Firm's YouTube channel. We are employment, personal injury, and criminal attorneys with offices in Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, and Baltimore, Maryland. We do offer legal services, but these videos are purely informational. We thought it important to provide information to people about different legal issues that you may face. But in this capacity, we are not giving legal advice. We are providing this information in these videos purely for informational purposes. So if you watch this video because you need information, but you seem like you might really need personal legal representation, make sure you reach out to an attorney in your area. If your issue deals with employment, personal injury, or criminal law, or some different area of law, make sure if you need legal representation that you find it. Seek out somebody in your area that's qualified. All right, first of all, a little background on the law. So under both federal and state law here in Texas and in many other states, there are protections against an employee being retaliated against for engaging in what's called protected activity. Let me explain protected activity a little bit because it might be the first time you're hearing that term. So an example of protected activity would be I'm an employee at a company and I go to my human resources representative and I say, my manager, Bob, has been discriminating against me because of my race. I feel like he treats me differently than the other people that I work with in my department that are not my race. So I'm Black. Let's just use an example. I'm the only Black person in my department. All of the other employees are Hispanic and Caucasian, and I feel like I'm being singled out by my manager, Bob, and he's treating me negatively. Now, that is protected activity. I am going to a human resources representative and I'm saying, I feel like I'm being discriminated against because of my race. So that's an example of what would fall under protected activity. Now, a lot of times people report behavior that they feel is wrong, but they don't specifically say why. So let me give you an example of what's not protected activity. Bob is being mean to me. I don't know why. I feel like he just doesn't like me. That is not protected activity. So you see the difference there? In my first example, I was very specific. I said, I feel like Bob is discriminating against me because of my race. I'm the only Black person in my department. The other employees are Hispanic and Caucasian. Bob treats me differently, and I think it's because of my race. That qualifies as protected activity because I connected the reason why I feel like I'm being treated differently is because of my race, which is a protected class. Second example, all I said was, I feel like Bob is mean to me. I don't know why. He just doesn't like me. That is not protected activity. And under the law, the first example, that employee would have a strong retaliation case if they were to get terminated after they engaged in that protected activity. So let's say in example one, I said, I feel like Bob is discriminating against me because of my race. And a week later, I get terminated and the company claims it's performance, but I've never had any performance issues before. I just reported Bob's behavior and now all of a sudden I'm terminated and Bob was involved in the termination decision. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later, but that is a strong retaliation case for several different reasons. Second example, I say, I think Bob is just being mean to me. I don't know why. He just doesn't like me. A couple days later, I get terminated. I try to file a wrongful termination case for retaliation. That case is not strong at all because what the employer is going to say is, Tracey never said that she was being discriminated against. She just said Bob was mean to her and she didn't know why. That's not retaliation because I didn't say it was because of me being in a protected class. Those protected classes being race, age if you're over 40, gender, sexual orientation, disability, pregnancy, national origin, or color. So the difference there is huge for a potential retaliation case. You want to say why you feel discriminated against. And if it is because you're in a protected class, you want to make that clear. Because if later on down the line you get terminated or demoted, that's going to be very important if you seek legal representation for an employment lawyer to advocate for you. So like I said in the beginning of this video, a lot of times as employees, we are scared to say what the discrimination is. We just want to go maybe report the behavior and hope that it might change, but that's not enough. If you are being discriminated against because you're in a protected class, make sure you say that. Preferably you want to put it in writing, whether you send an email to Human Resources or email to your manager, put it in writing as to why you feel discriminated against. Be specific. Don't be afraid to say, if you're going to report it, don't be afraid to say the reason why. Those buzzwords, I feel like I'm being discriminated against because of my race, age if you're over 40, gender, disability, national origin, pregnancy, sexual orientation, color. Important, very important. And if you feel apprehensive or you don't know exactly what to say, seek out some legal representation. Even if you're still an employee, you can contact an employment lawyer and you may be able to get advice on what to do, what to say. And some employment attorneys may even work with you while you work there and represent you in letting the company know that you feel like you're being discriminated against. So employment lawyers can get involved even before the termination occurs, hopefully to put the company on notice that discrimination is going on so they can do an investigation and that you can protect your job if that's what you want to do.